Welcome to today's episode of the Webcomics Hubcast, episode 13, season 2. Season 2. We're still in season 2. One day we'll be in season 3. I feel like if I do 26 episodes, I should just make season 3. I'll make season 3 and I'll actually go through the trouble of doing more. But, we'll see. Let's see if I get that far. Anyway, today's episode is going to be a fun one, at least for me, because the entire thing is going to be outlined by the fact that I want to talk about my 3 favorite subjects in the world: AI, software, and webtoons. I think that's a pretty fair place to be. AI, software, and webtoons. The pic behind me is wonderful. Oh, what do you say? What do you say? What do you say? The pic behind me is glorious. It's what we call transcendental. It's what we call transcendental. Anyway, I want to talk about AI, I want to talk about software, and I want to talk about webtoons, my favorite 3 topics. So to kind of start this, to kind of get this going, sorry, I had to deal with like a DM that just came in. But to kind of get this going, let's start with my favorite topic, Clip Studio, because the easiest one to talk about. Easiest one to talk about, everyone's probably here for that one, Clip Studio. I want to be real with you guys. The Clip Studio decision for me is funny. Yeah, it's a little bit funny. It's a little bit funny because to some extent, I think a lot of people are mad over nothing. To some other extent, I understand why some people are mad. I get their anger. I just think that they're overly mad. Misty really came for that. Hey, Misty, by the way, we didn't see you in VC. I hope you're okay, bud. But to some extent, I want to talk about Clip Studio thing because to some extent it's like a whatever topic to me. You know what? Before I go into it, let me start from my background. I'm an Adobe user. You all know that. Because I may use Adobe to make my videos and stuff and make my live stream assets and stuff like that. I'm a big Adobe user. I use 2 versions of Adobe. I use CS6 and I use CC, which is Creative Cloud, which is the online subscription one, which I don't pay a subscription for. Go figure. And I still use CS6 for a lot of everyday tasks. I still use them for a lot of minor things. I don't use CS6 as much only because a lot of my work is in After Effects, and CC After Effects has this one thing that I really need for that works really well on my GPU, and that's it. That's the only reason that's the main reason I use CC the most. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't bother. So for me, subscription model software isn't unusual. And to a lot of extent, versioning software isn't unusual. In fact, I think versioning is good. But when it comes to the Clip Studio thing, I think one of the biggest problems is they explained it very poorly. So people don't understand how Clip Studio is transitioning into this versioning system, how the subscription model is going to play in with it, and what the actual problems of this system are. Because I think there are actual problems. I just don't think it's that bad. Let me kind of clarify for the sake of everyone around. Just, let's make it really clear. Clip Studio made this terrible fucking graphic. The worst graphic on earth that I've ever seen in my goddamn life, explaining how they were going to transition everyone to their new subscription model. And I think it does a really bad job of explaining what it wants to do. Let me just get that on the screen for you real quick. So this is the Clip Studio announcement. This is the Clip Studio announcement that they're switching to the subscription model, right? This is the announcement. This is the actual thing. And there's a little graphic at the bottom that I think is so fucking confusing. So what they're trying to do right now, they're basically trying to be like, this top bit means you are here. Version 1.x perpetual license update. Perpetual license holders, you are here. That's where we're all at. We're all using version 1.0, version 1. Whatever, 1. Whatever. And we're using that as perpetual license holders. We own the license to use it forever. In 2023, Clip Studio wants to transition from that method, right? I'm just going to do a little zoom over there. They want to transition from the method above, where it's only one type of license, to one where there's going to be people who remain on the perpetual license. There's going to be people who buy the perpetual license for version 2. And there's going to be people who either own the original license or buy the perpetual license, and then also purchase the update pass. That's literally it. Right? I get why it's confusing. Like for me, it's not, because I see this all the time, but I get why it's confusing, right? And like the update pass is a supplementary tool. Like an example is this: if you own perpetual license 1.0, you own every version 1. Whatever version that you've got. You can use all of them whenever you want. If you own version 2.0, you own all of version 2.0. You own 2.0 and any of the bug fixes that come with it. That's what you get. If you get the update pass, you get feature updates. That's it. That's what they were trying to explain here with 2.1 and 2.2. You get feature updates. It's very confusing to anybody who isn't like a programmer because you don't know that that second number means feature. But you just get feature updates if you have the update pass, and that's it. The downside of this, though, is while you're getting feature updates, if you cancel your subscription, all of your feature updates revert and you go back to the base version of whatever version of Clip Studio you owned. So if you owned like 1. Whatever that they're on right now, you would own just that 1. Whatever. That's it. It would revert all the way back to that. If you own 2.0, it will revert back to 2.0. You don't own your updates, which is dumb. But if 3.0 comes out and you purchase the perpetual license for 3.0, right? You would own 3.0 and every update beforehand. That's it. Like that's what the whole fucking confusing thing is. And the confusion really seems to come from them adding this update pass thing. Like it's not super crazy or confusing in and of itself. It's just a little bit like tricky to fully understand. And I get why people don't like it. I get why people don't like it. The update pass specifically seems to have a lot of people feeling emotionally angry about it. They think that there's something wrong with them adding a subscription model to it. And yeah, I agree to some extent. I don't like a subscription model in and of itself. The fact that you can buy perpetual licenses for each version is good. It means that most people will probably only update when 3.0 comes out. So I think that's pretty reasonable. I'm all on board with that, if I'm honest with you. But I understand why people don't like it. I understand why people think it's inaccessible. I understand why people have a problem with it. And to some extent, a little bit of me is like, why are you doing this, Celsius? You know, why, Celsius? Why would you decide that this is the decision, the best decision that you should go with going forward when you're dealing with this creative software that for a lot of people is very accessible, very affordable, and works well? And honestly, yeah, it's like Cover Zombie calls it a battle pass. It's literally a battle pass. It's a battle pass because you already own the version of the game that works, the version of the thing that works. You own it and it does everything you want. But if you want to get the battle pass, you get all the battle pass updates that come with you until the next cycle comes in, and then like that's it. Like that's what it gives you. That's what it is. Like it's a battle pass. That's reasonable to me too if like 2.0 and 3.0 and so on come, but it's fine. But then, you know, what about the updates? Feature updates aren't always a good thing for you and don't always mean that much. Like, I think that whatever version of Clip Studio 1 that exists right now is really good. I think it's really good. I like whatever version of Clip Studio 1 exists right now. I don't think version 2 is really going to affect me and my decision making. And I don't think it's really going to affect most of your decision making. You're all going to look at it and go, it's all right. And I keep using 1. Whatever. And it'll be fine. You'll be usable. It'll be good. You won't be getting a ton of new features anymore, but it'll be good. It'll be fine. Like nothing will be wrong. And by the time you want those new features, they would have gone through a bunch of bug testing, and 3.0 will probably be out. Like, I don't see the problem per se with it. What I do see a problem with is the subscription model in general. I think people need to like understand what they're upset about and like chill out. The update pass is like the paid service that they're introducing that is going to cause a lot of problems, right? For a lot of people and cause a lot of confusion. And like, I think one of the biggest problems is they poorly communicated this idea, but I know why they've done it. It makes sense why Clip Studio would do it, why Clip Studio would make a version 2, version 3, and so on. Why Clip Studio would introduce this update pass. And I'm going to start with the versioning because that's something that I'm more used to as a programmer. If you guys don't know, I'm a computer science graduate. I programmed a lot. I've written a lot of software. I've written a lot of software with other people. I've worked at good companies. Versioning is really normal. If you want to know why people do versioning, honestly, it's because you want to do big change. Now, I could be wrong. 2.0 could come out and look like shit, and there'll be no real change to the actual software. But the reason why you typically do versioning is you want to make a change so big that like it will no longer align with the core values of whatever the last version was. If you want an example of it, or will either no longer align or it will be so substantially different as to be a very different experience. An example of that is Animal Crossing, actually. Animal Crossing version 1 and Animal Crossing version 2 on the Switch. Because right now Animal Crossing is in version 2 on the Switch, are substantially different games, like very different games. And I think in a lot of ways, people should understand that's why versioning is good for them. That's why they do versioning. Versioning allows them to make a very big, drastic change to the software. And 2.0 and it might be very like behind the scenes changes that don't affect us, but affect them a lot more. It might be very in front of us changes that we'll see as things go along. I think versioning is fine. I think versioning is good. And as when it comes to the update pass, I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I get it. I really get it. The update pass is largely going to be for two kinds of people. It's going to be for rich artists and companies. And that's kind of it. That's what the update pass is for. Rich artists and companies. The ability to buy a full version is for us, the rest of you guys, right? Because clips, to explain it is to explain a little bit about marketing. We're going to talk about marketing again. Let's talk about marketing. When you are selling a product, you need to kind of angle your product to a certain audience, right? You need to know who your potential audience is and you need to sell it to them properly. Clip Studio's potential audience and who they're selling to properly is very specific, and it is lower middle class. They have a very specific class monetary goal, and it's lower middle class people. Clip Studio cares about you if you are the child of parents who do fine, who like survive, and you can occasionally borrow money or get money somehow, and you can afford your stuff. That's who their audience is. People who can pay $50 for software and think it's a good price. That's their biggest audience, and they know their biggest audience. The biggest audience will almost always be lower middle class. Despite how many artists tell you that they're starving all the time, a lot of them, a good number of them are from families where they can afford to not starve. Like they're lower middle class. It's fine. There's not an attack on them, right? It's not an attack on them. They moved out of their house. Like I'm not trying to shit on them. I'm just saying that's where they are, right? And as such, Clip Studio's software and Clip Studio's monetary practices and everything are going to focus a lot on people who are in the lower middle class bracket and up. So if you're like, if you can afford to buy Genshin Impact loot boxes, you're lower middle class. Like if you can afford to consistently buy that, you're like edging on lower middle class, right? Like if you can buy one loot box a month, yeah, you're pretty much edging on lower middle class. As long as like it's not your only expense. And like that's who Clip Studio is marketing themselves to. Those people who can afford that. And everyone above that, everyone who earns more money than that. That's the target audience that they've selected. And as such, if you are below that target audience, you will be neglected a lot. I can see why a lot of people have problems with the update pass because they see it as a way of squeezing out money. And the problem for me is like, it's a way of squeezing out money out of people who have money to be squeezed out of them. But if you don't have money because of you, it can suck. It can suck a lot. The update pass makes you feel like you're missing out on stuff. You're not going to be able to get access to all the newest features, all the latest stuff. It can really fuck with you, honestly, on a fundamental level. But the fact that you can buy the full versions for me really should offset that. And like the other reason why the update pass really matters for Clip Studio is that they don't make money. Like they don't talk about this a lot. So, okay, Celsius isn't the Clip Studio parent company. Let's start from there. Celsius is like the Clip Studio development company. The parent company of Celsius, the company that like owns all of the IP and like would be fair to call a big decision maker in the game, is called AnySpark. AnySpark. God, what's the full name? Oh no, ArtSpark HD. I forgot what the HD means, but it's ArtSpark HD. I think the HD means something like holdings. Yeah, holdings. The head company is called ArtSpark Holdings. And I'm going to show you guys something really interesting. Because ArtSpark not only owns Clip Studio, they own some other software that makes car UIs. You know, when you have a smart car and has a UI, that's what they make. So I decided to look into ArtSpark Holding. I was like, okay, and I'm going to tell you my logic behind this. I think if you have a lot of money, you can afford to be nice, right? You choosing not to be nice just because you're a dickhead. I think if you don't have a lot of money and you're still being nice, it's because of a situation of like, or you're still being understanding, you're still being reasonable. It's because that's what you could afford to do when it was a necessity for you. So for that, and to that end, I'm just going to show you Clip Studio's revenue because I think it's a little bit easier. So, correction, ArtSpark Holdings revenue, the parent company's revenue. If I can just get the graphic to actually fit on the screen properly, that'd be great. Okay, cool. Let's transition. So just a real quick heads up. If you look on the right bar, you'll see it a little bit better. Just trying to get that to fit on the screen properly. Just fit on the screen properly. Yeah, great. So if you're looking at it, you'll look at the right side. I've looked at all the numbers. I just want you to focus on the important things. You're going to see them highlighted. If you look at this, at the line that says 122560, that's 1 billion yen. That's 1 billion yen. In a year, in 2021 ending, Clip Studio made 7 billion yen, which equates to about $50 million, right? And they only got out of it about 1 billion yen, which equates to about $8 million. They made $50 million and they came out of it with they pulled a $50 million gross revenue. And after expenses, they only had $8 million left. I need to say this to you because of the size of the company we're talking about. $8 million is fucking nothing in terms of monetary revenue. And the year before, they already made a loss. It looks like in 2020, they made a significant loss. It looks like Clip Studio has been thinking about this transition to 2.0 for quite a while. And while they're experiencing exponential growth in 2021 and 2022, from 2020, it looks like they'd already had made a decision to change their business model somewhat because it wasn't making them money. And if you don't know what I mean, let me just remind you. Everyone who owned Manga Studio got Clip Studio for free and all these updates. Just to remind you about that. So the 100,000 or so people that own Manga Studio didn't pay them money. Everyone who bought Clip Studio years ago for $25, which is what most of you bought it for. I think I'm the only one between all of us that bought it for $50, right? Everyone bought it for $25, let's say 50 on the high end, right? And since then, you've gotten free full updates, bug fixes, and like feature updates. And that's been like, they've been doing that since like 2013. Like they've been doing that since 2013. They don't make a lot of money from us. They make barely any. The reason why their revenue is really high, 2021, 2022, is because they had exponential growth in purchases. I paid $50 on purpose. But they had exponential growth in purchases. In July alone of this year, they sold 600,000 registered copies. They sold 600,000 registrations to the subscription model for Clip Studio. So I think that's people paying $50 full time, right? Like they're having exponential growth, and the subscription model is making them a lot more money. They've been running a subscription model on a multi-device subscription model for years at this point, and that's been making them more money. So Clip Studio, understandably, wants to make money so that they do not continue to make a loss or losing or make very little profit. So they can continue to pay the developers and afford this stuff and grow as a company and grow and make better features and do more stuff, right? Like ArtSpark doesn't make a lot of money. Celsius needs, and by extension, Celsius doesn't make a lot of money either. Because you remember that 1 billion yen I just showed you, that $8 million with profit was for ArtSpark Holdings, the parent company. That got split between two companies. That 8 million is split between two fucking companies. Okay? Just to remind you, two companies split. So you know, they're like clearly Celsius and Clip Studio is their biggest product and experiencing exponential growth. But it's unfair to pretend like the exponential growth will continue forever. The artist community is a finite space and will end eventually. And in my opinion, for reasons like that, I understand their decision to, one, version, and two, subscribe, make a subscription model. Now, I have a lot of problems with the subscription model. I have a lot of problems. One of the biggest ones I have is when I pay for the update pass, when the update pass concludes, it reverts me back to my last version that I had, like the one I owned the perpetual license for. And that's fucking stupid. That's fucking dumb. I disagree with that. Give me the shit that I paid for. I paid for that update pass. Give me all the updates I paid for. Fuck you. That's stupid. Like, I don't agree with that. That is actually really bad. That's a really bad system. Like, that's a really bad system, and you're encouraging people to torrent your shit. Like, you're really encouraging people to torrent your shit. Do not revert my updates. If I pay you for an update pass for a year, give me my fucking updates. Let me go to the latest stable version, closest to the last version that existed for me during the update pass. I'll move to the nearest stable version, and that will be it for me. Like, and I'm fine with that. If I own 2.6.2 of Clip Studio because I paid for the update pass for 1 year and I got 6 feature updates, I'd be happy with that. And a few bug fixes, and that was a stable version, I'd be perfectly happy with that. Like, yeah, Geek Boy, you got Clip CSP through Manga Studio X. You bought Manga Studio X like a decade ago. Fuck me, dude. Just reminded me of that. But like, yeah, I'd be happy with paying that subscription fee if I kept my updates. And I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I think it's really shitty that they're making that happen. Also, somebody asked me a side question. Do we know the biggest differences between 1.x and 2.0 other than the update pass? Yes, no. They have not expressed a single thing about what the new 2.0 design philosophy is. So I have no idea what is significantly changing between 1.x and 2.0. I've actually looked a lot, and I emailed them. I emailed Celsius for comment. I'm not big enough for comment. So like, I'm not big enough for comment, so they didn't tell me shit. I emailed Celsius for comment just to understand if they were going to explain that, but they didn't. Like, I don't know. I don't think this is an inherently bad thing. Brokebot said in chat, the subscription model sucks, but I don't think I would need any of the new features anyway. And I think that's where most creators are going to be. Most creators who are in the 1. whatever, who have the latest version of 1.x are going to be fine. They're going to have version 1. Like, I don't know what version are we on Clip Studio now, 1.17 or something? They're going to have that. They're going to look at 2.0 and be like, not a big enough reason to change. And then they're going to drop it. And I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I think that's fine. Like, especially in comparison to everything else in the market. Clip Studio is one of the cheapest softwares I know of that does the things that it does. Like, Clip Studio charges $50 for the lowest end for Pro and $219 for X. Photoshop, fuck that shit. But even Coral Painter, an outright purchase product, charges like $500. Coral Draw charges like $500. And like Art Rage Vitae and Paint Tool Sai both cost $80 and $50. Like, for all the things Clip Studio does better than the last two and does on par with the $500 software, I'm quite upset that there are people who are upset with paying $50. Like, paying a potential other $50 maybe in like 2 to 3 years. Because frankly, 1.x will do you well for a while. Making like drastically new versions takes a while. There's a reason why I said that I thought that Clip Studio was making that decision to change around 2020. That's because they had a really big loss in 2020, probably because they spent a bunch of money on R&D. So they've it's been on the books. It's been in the books. Like, it's been in the books for a while, clearly. It takes a while to make a new version of software. It's something you can do easily. Adobe doesn't switch versions for like 2 years on average. Like, they just started on a really, like, on average, especially now that they're slowing down because like there's only so many features you can add. They don't switch very often. From Misty Nixon chat, though I do see the problem with letting you keep updates being this. What if someone just waits until a bunch of updates, pays the updates only once, and then keeps them? I don't know how they'd work around that. There's no reason to work around that. That's a reasonable use case because that's still money. The update pass is a solid year. You don't pay for a month. You pay 1 year of update pass. You have to pay a year of update pass. So they'd be paying you a reasonable amount of money for all those updates. And I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. I think that's very reasonable. And Clip Studio should get over themselves. Like, that's recurring money. That's people paying you twice, you know? People would buy version 2.0 and then pay you again later. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think that's reasonable. And for people who want the updates snazzy, you have recurring payments from them over multiple years. I'm on board with that. I don't think there's any need to work around that, to be honest. You should get what you paid for till you stop paying. I think so, 100%. You kept all versions of CSP on your hard drive, Geek Boy? That's unusual. I mean, I do that with Godot, my game engine, but I mean, okay, fair enough. like for me, for me, when I see a company this small that make like when I see a company like Clip Studio that has only 100 people, 100 some people, I went to their offices. It's a very small office. I went to look at their offices online. It's a very small office. They operate on a very low budget. They just do. That's the truth. They operate on a very low budget. When I see them making a decision like this, I understand why. They barely make revenue. It's a pretty reasonable move, especially if you have goals to expand your company, expand your product. That's pretty reasonable. And I can't really fault them or say there's anything wrong with their decision making, because there's nothing wrong with their decision making. There's only some minor problems with the way they're going about stuff. But that's not like an inherent flaw of the decision making. That's just like a flaw that happens. It happens. Like it's not that big a deal. I don't know. I've noticed that the community is really mad at Clip Studio, and for in all honesty, I need to remind people that like the decisions like this aren't like one greedy person. And this is something I notice a lot with when people complain about Webtoon. I complain about Webtoon a lot. I'm not here to pretend like I don't. When people complain about Webtoon, when people complain about Clip Studio, people forget that like decisions that are made by people who have multiple goals. Like and like not one goal. The decision to switch to this model wasn't made by one person. It was made by at least a dozen people, and all of those dozen people had different reasons. Some of them were the programmers who were making the decision because they realized that they needed to stop working with 1.x code because they wanted to make big changes. Some of them were people who were making the change because they thought it would allow for them to make better products. People have goals that are all the way from as angelic as that to literally just, I want to make money. The goals of making a decision this is one of those decisions that is like good for people who want to do good things and good for evil people. It allows them to both hit their goals. That's the problem. Like people talk about like, Cover Zombie saying something I was even going to say. People talk about how Psy is a free alternative. The guy who made Psy is broke as fuck. He makes no money. He's depressed all the time because he works on this product because he loves it, but it makes no money. And Psy doesn't get updates very often. Like you're not gonna get soft. You can't have your pound of flesh as an artist, and then the person creating your software has to suffer. If you don't fucking like it, make like the 3D community and make your own art software. I would be happy for an open source. I'd be happy for open source Clip Studio, for an open source art software to exist. I'd be very happy. I'd be incredibly happy for that to be real. But like to pretend like people who are working hard on this don't deserve to be paid really well for what they're doing, I don't know. I feel like it's a little shitty. People are talking. Somebody was like talking to me and saying like, well, in the future they're going to go terrible. I'm like, I need you to understand this with a lot of love. If they become terrible, they were always going to become terrible. Having a versioning 2.0 or having a fucking update pass is not what was going to make them terrible. They've been doing subscriptions for a minimum of 3 years now. Any of these things aren't what's going to make them a terrible company. If they become a terrible company, it's because they were going to become a terrible company anyway. They could have just done an Adobe. They could have done an Adobe and been like, fuck you. I have you're done with 3. We could have been on version 4 point whatever, right? And it'd be like, fuck you. We're switching to subscription models now. I'm going to do like what Adobe did to CS6, abandoned CS6 within 3 months of moving to CC, updated, fixed none of the bugs, and then like fucked off. And then and left us with a bunch of bugs that don't really affect work, but like are annoying. They could do that. And they're not doing that. Like, I'm sorry, you have to pay for your art software once every 3 to 5 years. Boo-hoo. Fuck you. Like, I'm sorry, I can't feel bad for you. I can't feel bad for you. Because, like, it's, like, from a developer mindset, there's such a decision in the art community. The art community is very used to being burned. They're very used to being burned. They're very used to being hurt by a lot of other people outside. There's a very strong desire to forget that like behind a lot of the shit that they rely on, there's a bunch of human beings. And sometimes the decision to make those human beings' lives better is done for selfish reasons and it's done for selfless reasons. And like, if they were switching to the CC model where they were charging me $80 fucking a month, that was opening CC price, by the way. $80 a month for like Photoshop and After Effects or something and Premiere because they weren't in a bundle yet, I would be mad. Hell, I'd be mad if they're charging me $15 a month. They're charging me $50 a year. I paid $100 for a year of Discord Nitro. This is not what's gonna piss me off. Like, I'm trying to be realistic with you, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm reading your comments and I see what people are seeing. Like, I don't know. Soap Salad. Hey, Soap, by the way. I get they need to make money, but it would be nice if they could at least grandfather us in for the new version, since we are all here, we all were kind of promised perpetual license with continuous updates. Like, their logic, and I don't know if I fully agree with it, is that you were guaranteed 1.x perpetual license with and continuous updates. So they're going to give you all the features that they need, they can put in 1.x, and that's what you paid for, and that doesn't go out of style. Like, that's not stopping. It doesn't stop working. It won't even fail. Like, it will be bug fixed and kept. And I think for most artists, that's what they paid for, and they got what they paid for, and I think that's reasonable. I don't know. I think that's reasonable. I know what you mean by being grandfathered in, but like, they've done it once before, and like, doing it now would be grandfathering in 3 million people. No, 20 million people. They'd be like, before they grandfathered in 100,000 people. But doing it now would be grandfathering in 20 million users. Who the fuck is going to pay for their new software? Because 20 million people, no fucking joke, it's probably the entire worldwide art community. Like, I don't know. Like, I know what they, and I'm some geek boy, I know what they did. I know they did a subscription thing before this. For people who want to buy exclusive assets on the Clip Studio store, they can either do a one-time payment or a monthly payment. Yeah, not even just that. They did a subscription thing for the software. Clip Studio has been subscription for 3 years. You can get a multi-device subscription because the license only gives you 2 computers, but you can get a 4-device subscription to X where you don't pay full price. You pay like $100 a year. I don't inherently buying it now gives you 10 years worth of updates that are already there. Yeah, I think so. I don't see a significant difference between like the updates and the new version from Super Salad. Well, the new version, we have no idea what it is, but I agree with you. I don't see a significant difference either. It's probably going to get a bunch of new features, but much like when Adobe was like introducing all that AI shit into Photoshop and After Effects, I didn't care about. Like, I won't care. I will probably update, like, I'd probably buy version 3.0 when it comes out, which will take a few years. It just will. I'll probably buy version 3.0 when it comes out, or depending on how they fuck up their versions, version 5.0, depending on how they fuck up their versioning, I'll buy the version that has a significant change. But I'll be rocking 1.x for so long. And the thing is, something that somebody said to me that annoyed the hell out of me, because like, I don't know how everyone thinks about software and stuff. I don't know how all of you think about software, but as somebody who like works in software, and so you work in software too, you know a little bit about this. Operating systems really affect the way your software runs. So somebody told me the other day in a conversation, I'm upset because I don't trust Clip Studio to uphold their, and like they leave 1.x stable at the end, because when they left Windows 7, they didn't even leave a stable version there. When they stopped supporting Windows 7 in 2020, they didn't even leave a stable version there. It's very likely that they'll do that again in Windows 10. And I'm like, no, that's not how fucking software works. Like, I cannot express this enough to you. That's not how software works. I've not put any ads on. Why do you guys have ads? I'm so sorry you have so many ads. Sorry, Sock. Can't even hear me. But like, it's very important for me to like say to you guys, like, the way software works with operating systems is really key. Like, and I'm just gonna get a little bit like techie on you for a second, really techie on you for a second. Windows 7, Windows 10, and Windows 11 operate on a similar what's called kernel, right? Windows 10 and Windows 11 have a very unique set of differences that change them from what Windows 7 was. If software is stable on Windows 10 and Windows 11, it's going to be stable on there for at least 5 to 10 years. And it's already stable on Windows 11. I use a torrented version of Clip Studio paid, for fuck's sake. it's stable. I paid $50 for the main one after a while. It's also stable. They're both stable. Like, they're both unimaginably stable. Like, I'm actually quite shocked. Like, I use an old torrent version, I use a new version, and they're both stable. So, like, for me, right, the way I'm looking at it, as long as your computer is not the bottom rung, like, you can't have a PC at the bottom of the bell curve. If you have a decent-ish PC, like a solid $500 laptop, which is a lot of money, but it's something you're going to use for 5 to 10 years, so I think it's a reasonable thing to pay at $100 a year. If you have a solid $500 laptop that is made in the past, like, 4 years, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. As long as it doesn't have any one of those stupid fucking, like, factory bugs, buy a good laptop that will do you well. Do good research, buy a solid laptop, get something from Dell if you really like their creative laptops. You know, ask me for laptop recommendations, for fuck's sake. I'll help you. But, like, buy a good laptop one time, a decent laptop one time, and, like, you will get good Clip Studio usage for a while. You don't even need a dedicated graphics card. Clip Studio is so lightweight. It runs on, like, internal graphics. It's so lightweight. It's actually kind of unimaginable to me. I say lightweight as a joke. It's just, it doesn't crash on internal graphics. And, like, for me, it's like, that's techie stuff done, by the way. But for me, it's like, once you understand, like, how the software interacts with stuff, I understand the stability issues. I understand that often if something is unstable on your computer for any reason, it's probably unstable for more than just the company fucked you over, right? You probably fucked yourself over because you own a shitty laptop. And that's not exactly your fault if you don't have the money for it, but, like, that's where you're at, right? Once you understand that, it's like, I don't know, I think it changes the perspective a lot. I know you were promised forever. I'm sorry, forever isn't real. Much like Kachipurin's marriage that ended, your marriage to Clip Studio must end at some point. Life, innit? Kachi, what the fuck is that chat? Also, if you run Clip Studio on an Apple device, fuck off complaining. Apple devices are so disturbingly stable. You're never gonna have a problem with it. I don't think they should grandfather 20 million people in. I don't agree with that. I think you should be given a low cost upgrade choice. I think you should be allowed to pay like $10 as a person who already owns Clip Studio. You have to pay $10 to upgrade. I think it should be an upgrading path where you can pay up to upgrade going forward. But I do not genuinely think 20 million people should be grandfathered in. I think that would just tank your product price, like, instantly, flat out. Nobody would pay for anything, and you'd never make money. Like, I genuinely don't. I know what you're talking about. I can see where you're coming from. I think they should just offer everyone who owns Clip Studio 1.x a very low cost upgrade path. And they should offer with everyone who owns 2.x. Frankly, I think a low cost upgrade path of $10 to $20 every new version is a more reasonable path than, like, the update pass would be, in my opinion. That's what I genuinely think. I personally would prefer a pay to upgrade than an update pass. The update pass's existence for getting, like, you know, feature updates over the course of a year sucks. Especially because it doesn't, like, maintain my position in the update pass. I have to, like, if I unsubscribe, I lose a bunch of updates. Like, I hate that. I hate that so much. The update pass in particular I have a problem with. I have a problem with the way it operates. I have a problem with the way it runs. And rather it was a versioning system where you just pay to version update. Like, I pay $20 to update to version 2, $20 to update to version 3 if I already own 1.x, or I buy 2.0 outright for $50. I think that should be the new path. The update pass I have a lot of little problems with because of the way they operate it. That's just it. I genuinely am very happy with the new version licenses. I do not think anybody should be moved up in version. I do not think so. I'm happy with version licenses. They're good. And at the end of the day, you can run your software almost eternally. Most software like Clip Studio runs forever. Like, most software like Clip Studio runs forever. As somebody who has a copy of Adobe CS2 installed on my MacBook that I don't use anymore, but my MacBook that's running like OS X 10.0 Snow Leopard, like, that's from years and years ago. Like, it works. Most, like, software like this just works. And doubt every company. That's a reasonable thing to do. You should doubt every company. That is a reasonable thing to do. I'm not here to pretend like you shouldn't doubt every company. We have yet to see how it fully plays out. It could easily play out badly and worse than what they've said, or better than what we expect, easily. But I think a company like Clip Studio that is involved where it is involved and has done what it has done, has a company like Celsius that's involved with the art community as much as it is, and has done as much as it's done, is a company that has a better track record that makes me believe that there is a good chance they're not going to do the negative action. That's it. Doubt them. 100% doubt them. And I encourage you doubting them. I've already outlined problems with the update pass here. I know that there are problems, but like, let's not like be mad because you know that change is bad. Don't be mad because you think change might be bad. Because that's such a shitty way to think. Like if you think the update pass is bad, be mad about the update pass. Don't be mad about version 2. I just think people should be patient. I think people should be patient. People should see what's going on. I think people should fucking read first. Like the amount of misinformation on day one was so stupid. Like I'm sorry, but like you guys are dumb. Please read. They gave like a whole website. They gave like a fucking 4-paragraph document explaining their logic, and all people did was scroll down to the image and then look at it and be confused. And I was quite upset about that. But I understand why it was confusing. I understand where you're coming from, but that was irritating. That was really irritating. The reverting update and future assets. Future assets being unusable is not a thing. That's not a true thing. That's not anywhere. There's no plan to affect future assets whatsoever. Then that means they're not updating the graphics engine by any significant margin that makes it unusable. There is no plan to fuck with the future assets. That's not in the plan. Not written down at all. So I don't know where that came from, just to say. It's a good sign at least that they aren't following Adobe and putting everything by a subscription paywall. Yeah. Yeah, the thing is they haven't told us jack shit other than like that they're moving versions. And I'm like, yeah, that's a bigger problem. People who use Krita are sad. Krita is not very good. Like I use Krita. It's not very good. I have Krita because of game development. Krita is not very good. Yeah, I mean, no, we know what will happen if you don't upgrade. Like, I should say for chat, we're all in dark about what would happen if you don't upgrade. We know exactly what will happen if you don't upgrade. That is actually in the text. In fact, I'm going to go back to the thing just so I can show everyone where it is. Because I think maybe that's part of the misinformation. People don't know some of this stuff because they didn't see it. I don't know. So I'm just going to transition back to the CSP thing. And that's what, if you don't upgrade 1.x, like the thing is, it doesn't matter whether you trust what they say. Their license agreements are what you paid for. If you don't agree with them on the license agreements that you paid for, you can sue them. It's like a class action lawsuit is something that companies like this don't want to deal with. And from Clip Studio's documentation, there's nothing that stops you from making a class action lawsuit. Anyway, if you don't upgrade your 1.x license, you don't get any 2.0 features. And then when 3.0 comes out, they stop supporting your software. That's it. That doesn't really mean much. That doesn't really mean much, unfortunately. Like, the unfortunate part of software is that doesn't mean anything, because at the end of the day, if they stop supporting the software, which means they won't do any more bug fixes, all throughout from 1.0 up until 3.0, from 2.0 to 3.0, they'll be doing bug fixes for Clip Studio. And until the end of 2022, they're going to be doing feature releases on Clip Studio as well. That's what they said. So they're going to finish all their feature releases, which will be mostly features they want to test out for 2.0, which is just how development works. They're going to finish all their feature releases. They're going to move the software into what's called maintenance mode, where you just do like bug fixes and updates and stuff like that. You just do like bug fixes and updates and OS updates, make sure it runs in the operating system well. And then at some point, it'll be stable enough. It takes a while. But it'll be stable enough. You'll have access to the cloud. There's no plan to change the cloud. They actually said so in their thing. In fact, I'm going to read, and I quote, where's the thing where they wrote about the cloud? Oh. Yeah, the Clip Studio Asset Store, which runs on the cloud. They mentioned, and I quote, "You'll be able to use version 1.x forever, provided it works on your device. We will continue to provide free updates with new features until the end of the year before the app moves to version 2. We will also provide free stability updates for major bugs or errors caused by the OS or specific devices into next year and beyond the transition of version 2.0. There are no planned changes to the access to the Clip Studio assets or any of our other services, including technical support. You will continue to receive technical support, software support, etc., basically up until 3.0, and at minimum. They will continue to be available during and beyond the transition to version 2.0. As for the assets on the asset store, there are a million ways to get assets. You don't need the Clip Studio Asset Store. And after a while, you would have built up a good set of assets. So, guys, come on. Like, let's not be unreasonable. You actually, like, somebody showed me today Acon, a 3D software, a 3D asset store downloader. You can go to Thingiverse and download 3D models from there. You can always get brushes and stuff. They literally market themselves on Twitter. Like, all I'm saying is all of these changes, which are licensing changes that you're agreeing to by using the software, by the way, and it's important that you read documentation like this, because documentation like this tells you what you can sue for and what you can't sue for, because this is part of your license agreement. This isn't like an update they're telling you as a friendly thing. They're telling you because you paid money for a product and they have to tell you this stuff. So, like, if they don't hold up their end of the argument, you could easily, like, they open themselves up to a class action lawsuit from a bunch of people who are already not happy with them. And enough big artists use their software now that it's very likely that they'll deal with one. Like, it's not something they can avoid. It's the truth of what it is. Yeah, and if you're on a monthly plan, nothing will change. Like, if you're on a monthly plan, by the way, nothing will change. Everyone on a monthly plan who's already on a monthly plan, on iPad or whatever, you will just magically update to 2.0 and then 3.0. I mean, what have they broken for people that they've told? Because nothing here has been broken as far as I can see. So, like, if it's the Webtoon stuff they promised, it's supposed to go in X. They're doing it eventually. That feature takes forever to build. Webtoon features always take forever to build because they're so esoteric. I haven't really seen Celsius or Clip Studio be particularly deceptive. Like, maybe they've not delivered something on time because it takes forever, but I don't think they're doing it to be secretly deceptive. It just does take forever. Like, I don't know. A lot of the anger I've seen came from misinformation, and the anger that's not from misinformation feels a little, I don't know. I wouldn't say disingenuous because it's very genuine. It's very genuine. I think people are just very used to being hurt. Krita shit talking CSP on Twitter is so dumb. Their software sucks. Like I'm not even gonna pretend like Krita is good. As someone who uses Krita is like fine. It runs fine. Its entire claim to fame is that every game developer who can't afford tools uses them. That's it. Krita doesn't make any big moves. Krita doesn't make any big moves. Like, they don't make any big changes. They don't have any big features that could help you or streamline any part of your work. Krita is, I don't know, I don't think it's ideal. The only problems they are breaking is free updates forever, and that's mainly because, as Nana's shown, it's not feasible. They cannot keep doing that for us. And also, they're not really breaking it. They're informing you of it. But let me just see. Correct me if I'm wrong. They implemented a limit of like a limit of device switches like a year ago or two. I've transitioned as they break over time, and they told me there's a cap to how much I'm allowed to do that. See, that's something I didn't know, and that's new, and that's bad. That's actually bad. Like, you should never limit people's device switches. That is always incredibly bad. And if people want to be mad about something, that's a meaningful thing to be upset about. Because you will switch computers. Over the next 5 to 10 years, you will switch computers a bunch of times. You might. You might switch computers a lot. They break, they get old. So, like, that's bad. That's bad. That's something to be upset about. This is not something to be upset about. This is something they're telling you legally. The 2 update thing, I don't know if they had it in their documentation. I never read it then. I hadn't read it back then. So I didn't know if they had the two switches, device switches thing years ago. But the thing is, one of the problems is none of us read the fucking terms of service. So we might have just fucked ourselves, if I'm honest. We might have just fucked ourselves. There's websites where you can look at old versions of terms of service, so something that we should look at. Something I should look at. I didn't even know about that. If I knew about that, I'd have looked into it. No one sued because no one, like, I should say to you, Soap, really quickly, no one sued because no one switches devices that often. Most people buy one device, use it for 5 years, and then switch after 5 years. By the time they've done their first switch, Clip Studio was already like most way through its lifespan. That switch, if that happened, if that was genuinely introduced without any warning, without any explanation to anybody, like, it didn't affect anyone, so no one noticed. If they don't maintain their bug fixes and maintain their bug fixes, the software will stop working, which will affect a lot of people. That's a meaningful thing that's negative. That's what I mean. I do remember seeing a device switch limit that should absolutely be removed, especially with new monetization model. I agree. Your Surface. Okay, I'm gonna give the biggest piece of technical advice I'm ever gonna give on this stream. Do not buy a Microsoft Surface, ever. If you see a Surface fucking anything, don't buy it. Don't buy a Galaxy tablet. Don't buy a Microsoft Surface. Don't buy Microsoft computers, period. You fucking, like, don't. I know you were tricked. Don't fucking get tricked again. Do not buy any Surface ever. They are bad devices. Do not buy any Samsung Galaxy tablets. They are mediocre devices. The iPads and, like, drawing tablets are all you should ever buy to draw on. And if you buy a drawing tablet, buy stuff that you can connect to a computer. Do not buy a Surface. If you're upset because the disconnect between looking at a tablet and drawing on a computer gets you, buy a tablet with a screen. If you're not, buy a tablet without a screen. They're cheap as hell. They're $50-$60 for high-end models with tons of features. And, like, that's all you need. Get a decent-ish laptop. And that's it. Do not buy a Surface. Never buy a Surface. The Surface is notoriously fucked. Every Surface device sucks. Every, like, Windows tablet device sucks. Frankly, don't really buy Windows tablet devices. There is only one good Windows tablet-ish device that I know, and it's the HP X360. And that's because HP made all the touchscreen functionality themselves. It wasn't, like, based on Microsoft stuff. That's the only good one. Do not buy a Surface. If you currently own a Surface, sell it before it breaks and buy something else. I'm saving you from a world of bullshit. Like, don't do that to yourself. You deserve better. Shit. You got a Surface Studio. It's always had problems, but hey, the screen is massive, so I'm alive, though the pen pressure is trash. Do not buy a Surface. Yeah. From Super Salad, I got a shower, but I guess my takeaway is I get why they're doing it. It makes sense from a business standpoint. I hate the way they're going about it. Didn't mind these changes and often leaving users in the dark. And I think you're fully right. The leaving people in the dark is bad. There is enough. They have informed people of quite a lot of stuff, but they've kept a lot of key information very dark. Like, what the fuck is 2.0 even going to be? Right? Like, what is that going to be? And all that stuff. Because they're not telling us that, it makes them sound a lot shadier than they are, I think. I think that's a that's a big issue. So thanks for showing up, Soap. I appreciate it. But yeah, don't buy a fucking studio. Never buy a studio. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad. Don't buy a studio. You know, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your second dad, and tell your second mom. Don't buy a studio. Don't buy a Surface Studio. Don't buy a Surface anything. Ever. Don't buy any of the Android tablets. They suck too. Buy an iPad, and not an iPad that's older than 5 years. Or buy a decent-ish laptop that has a decent-ish graphics system, and get a drawing tablet, please. I'm begging you. Yeah, I want to know what the update is too. I wish when they announced this, they went, by the way, here's the planned update for 2.0. That would be meaningful information. I don't know why the fuck they were being so coy about it. It's so stupid. Like, that is dumb to me. See, like, for me, there are problems with this. There probably will be XM Pro. There'll probably still be XM Pro, because XM Pro are two different product lines. You're never going to give up your two different product lines. It's super important for them. Because Pro is just drawing illustration software. X is animation software and illustration software. And that's a big move. Also, if any of your friends tell you switch to Blender, call them an idiot. Learning the grease pencil is so much work. Like I barely understand how it works. Don't bother. Like I know you should bother if you are willing to put in that work, but understand that you're not going to transition suddenly from excellent Clip Studio animation to excellent Blender animation. It's gonna suck. The grease pencil is a complicated device. When I got an iPad, I was like, wait, this computer is trash because the pen pressure is so nice on iPad. Yes, iPad is so good. Like, fuck, I love iPads. If you want to use Blender for art, understand that it's going to be a big, confusing software, but you can use Blender to do animation. You cannot use Blender to make comics. You cannot use Blender to make comics at all. You can't even use Krita to make comics. I don't know why the fuck they're being mouthy on Twitter. Like, get the fuck out of here with your fucking crashing, having ass, fucking can't even maintain transparency on multiple paint lines, having ass software. What the fuck? Like, I used Krita at one time. I hate it. It's so bad. Just use the new MS Paint if you're that desperate. If you're really like so avant-garde, use the new MS Paint. Fuck off. Like, if you want to be like, fuck this, use the new MS Paint. It has layers, I think now. MS Paint has layers now. Use that. Jesus Christ. Like, I understand everyone's frustrations. I understand everyone's feelings. I feel like a lot of people are being very disingenuous. I feel like a lot of people are being very hyperbolic. And I think that it's a situation where you've got to be a little bit level-headed. Don't lie about why you don't like it. Don't lie about what's wrong with it. Make sure you're actually informed about what's wrong with it before you like bitch about it on Twitter. And I'm guilty of that. Like, you know, I tweeted about it. I think if you guys follow me on Twitter at webcomics_hub, you know, I'm even going to show the Twitter account because, you know, I'm goofy like that. I tweeted about it and I was like, great job, Clip Studio, for abandoning your key monetary system. Remember to follow me at webcomics_hub. I tweeted about it, and like in retrospect, like literally like the day after that, I was like, yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was pretty wrong. I was a little bit hyperbolic. I was a little bit over the top, and I didn't think about a lot of things. And so I dived into a deep research of the company and the people there and what's going on. And like, I get why they need it. I don't think they're being a negative company. I think that they've chosen a confusing business model for a lot of complicated reasons. Clip Studio has some things that they should be fixing right now. For example, making the Clip Studio, the ability for people to make Clip Studio plugins in the English version a lot easier. These are meaningful changes that they could be bringing. And like this move to 2.0 can signal to you that they don't want to make those meaningful changes. But at the same time, like if they made those meaningful changes, they would be much better received. They fucked up a lot in the way they handled this. They fucked up a lot because there are things they haven't done that they should have done. But also a lot of us fucked up because we were just like mad. Madge. Like really. Like I joined because like they really fucked up. They really fucked up. But we were also being pretty reactionary. We gotta like chill. Not saying like trust them. They're not your best friend. Then no matter how bad you feel for them for making virtually no money, they're not your friend. But be reasonable. There are a bunch of people making decisions that they think are good. And also, don't fucking harass the artists on Twitter, like the creators on Twitter. Like a few of the Clip Studio developers are on Twitter and stuff. And like, it wasn't a very big post. I think it was a small post I saw of someone saying we should harass the developers until they change their mind. Don't fucking do that. Don't fucking do that. Okay? Okay, good. Fuck you. If you think of that, if you think that that's a funny thing to do, fuck you. Genuinely. I don't like you. Like most of the time I say fuck you, I'm joking, but that time I meant it. I meant it with a passion, a boiling passion in my heart. Ah, fuck's sake. I spent all day researching this like the company behind. Alexa just spoke in my home. That freaked me out. Sorry. My Alexa just spoke at me. Alexa, shut up. My Alexa just spoke at me. That fucking terrified me. That fucking terrified me. Shit. That's the best part about this being a live stream. You guys hear all the terrible things, the dumb things I do. Oh, Jesus, my heart. Like beating so hard. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Cool. Let me transition to the next topic that I had on my docket, on my docket list. I should say actually, real quick, for everyone who follows me on Twitter and who reads the YouTube community post and saw that I was reading all 3,000 webtoons in the call to action contest, that's currently ongoing. I've assembled a crack team of 4 people, 4 goons, 3 goons actually, and myself. So that makes 4 goons. Yeah, 4 goons who are reading them now as we speak. It's oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I mean, we're using like a process to eliminate ones that we don't want to read. We're using a process to eliminate them that we don't have, so we don't have to read all 3K and die. We're trying to be reasonable, but you know, it's gonna be funny. When I get to it, probably next week, I'll be done. I might stream like midweek if I have time, but I'll stream either midweek or next week, and then we'll go over the top 10 based on the list that we did. It's such a stupid idea, but I loved it. Anyway, on to the next topic. Kids, friends, countrymen, lend me your ears. Actually, don't really do that. Do y'all know that every webtoon has the same art style? There's a viralish post going around the community. Every webtoon has the same art style is a funny statement that I have seen twice today. And I think it's very funny because it's very wrong. But the frustration, I guess, comes from a very specific place. And I get it. I get where it comes from, right? The frustration comes from a genuine disdain for the fact that, like, with all the Korean imports coming in, and a lot of them being made by the same, like, 4 companies, Red Ice, DNC, and Red Ice, DNC, Y Lab, and what's that 4th one? Golem Factory. I get that. I get why people are a little bit irritated by it. You know, like they all look kind of samey. They all have a similar vibe. I get it. I get where their frustrations come from, but I think it's a very disingenuous and very malicious thing to say. Why? Why would you think that? How would you think that all webtoons have the same? Like, how? I want to understand the logic, like, because, like, I understand where the frustration comes from, but I don't understand, like, the conclusion. Why people get so mad at Rando with a hot take. Honestly, yeah. Why are we mad? Like, we shouldn't be that mad. It's a rando with a stupid hot take. Like, who gives a fuck? But I guess a part of it, for Calais Blue in chat, is because they feel a little bit maligned. Like, you're an artist, Calais, I'm assuming. You understand how this works. The webcomics community is like, webcomics in general, has had to fight an uphill battle even in their own niche of comics. Oh, everyone's in ad time? Why are y'all in ad time? What's going on, Twitch? I didn't even turn on an ad. YouTube has no ad time. Well, YouTube, I'm still talking to you. Screw these Twitch people, right? YouTube gang, best gang. They're all still in an ad. Jesus Christ. Who put ads on? What the fuck? 420 seconds. Okay, whatever. I don't want to like distract. Anyway, like, when it comes to the webcomics community, like, they feel they've been very maligned even within the comics niche. Like, the webcomic community has had to deal with a lot of, like, not being taken seriously, their IPs being treated as lesser. Like, they react very negatively to any perceived slight. It comes from a place of pain. It doesn't come from a place of dickish behavior, right? They're doing it because they're used to being treated badly. So I think we should be a little bit, like, understanding of the problem at hand. Like, they're not mad needlessly. They're mad because, like, you know, they've had to deal with a lot of being not taken seriously and stuff. And it's only recently that, like, the wider comics audience is no longer making fun of them. Yeah, I'm still streaming Enigma. What do you mean? Like, I'm always still streaming. I streamed last week. What are you talking about? Anyway, the wider it's only recently that the wider comics and art communities have been taking webcomics as seriously as it deserves to be taken. So like I understand why people would get mad at the every webtoon looks the same argument, as mad as they did, because it feels so uncalled for. But at the same time, you're right, Calais. Who gives a fuck about some rando on Twitter? Like, it's Twitter. It's Twitter. Like, some fuckwit is always saying something. I'm on Twitter at webcomics_hub, and I'm always saying something fucking stupid. Like, what did I say recently? Something about a podcast? Fucking dumb shit right there. Like, I get it. I don't know what Twitch is on right now. Yo, I might just start tuning on YouTube only because this is actually pissing me off a little bit. But like I get it. I get like I get why people are like a little bit mad, but like, guys, move on. It's just some rando on Twitter. You have a bad webcomics wiki page about your comic, Callie? Kaylee? I keep calling you Callie. You're Kaylee. You're Kaylee. I read your name and I didn't see one of the I's. I thought it was an L. I'm so sorry, Kaylee. Fuck. I'm so sorry. Man, I'm a professional chat reader. I read chat so well. My chat loves me because I get their names right every single time. I show them so much love and respect. The offense is valid, but like, it's just Twitter. It's just Twitter. It's just like, the offense is valid, but it's just Twitter. Like, it wasn't said by like a prominent or even a community member. It was said by some fuckwit. Like, sure. Yeah. Oh, it's Kylie. I thought it was Kaylee. My bad, Kylie. Sorry, Jesus Christ. Really fucked up somebody's name there in multiple ways. I feel like everyone who watches the VOD of this is going to see what I said and go, what? How? Anyway, like, speaking of fuckwits with opinions, I have a question actually. Because I wanted to relate this topic to something else, but I just kind of had to drop it in the middle of it. Because like, I just think I think it's some fuckwit on Twitter. I don't think we should care. I don't think we should care. And if you have a bad webcomics wiki about your personal comic, and you're taking it really well, honestly, that's pretty cool. Most people don't. Most people really don't. But people on Twitter do be weird. But there's the topic I want to move us to, which I think is a lot more relevant for me and a lot more funny, is the Webtoon ad thing about the Fullmetal Alchemist thing. Fullmetal Alchemist comparison. And if you don't know what that is, I'm just going to show you what it is. By using a borrowed image from a friend's phone. I do not feel bad for that creator. I do not understand the rage, but that's why I'm here. That's why I'm asking the questions. That's why I'm bringing it up to you guys. I want you guys to really explain this to me because I don't get why it's bad. And I'm going to explain my logic in a second. But if you don't know what that is, this is it. Like, courtesy of a friend's phone that I've tried to hide all the details on. This is it. Then comic Everfallen was advertised like this, saying the Fullmetal Alchemist got nothing on him. Okay. It was the push notification ad done by Webtoon through the Webtoon app. Okay. I'm going to say three things. Really important before I go off. One, comparative marketing is not new in like webcomics. Comparative marketing has never been new in webcomics. And like Everfallen holds a rating of 9.0. They didn't get meaningfully rate bombed. I'm sorry. That's not a rate bomb. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Like with 68,000 subscribers, that doesn't mean anything. That's something that just moves. But like comparative advertising is normal. In like, I read, you guys know I care a lot about marketing. It's my thing. It's something I read about a lot. I study a lot. Comparative marketing is really normal. And one of the things I didn't know, and I'm going to admit this really quickly, one of the things I didn't know is that Everfallen was from a creator who were already making something. So it wasn't even like a debut creator. I thought it was a debut creator. I assumed it was a debut creator putting out new work. And I was like, those strong words, but whatever, right? And like, I was like, that's good comparative marketing. It's gonna get people talking about it. People will be looking at it. It tells me what box it fits into. And I think that's really good. I'll get to Doria Enigma. I'll explain what the ad is in a second. But I think it's really good that that's the way. I thought it was really good at the way they marketed it. When I found out there was a person who was like a veteran of the site and already made comics, less so. Less so. And I read the comments and they're tame. They're fine. So like for me, I don't understand the problem, right? Just out the gate. I'm going to read your comments, but I'm saying I don't understand the problem. Also from Enigma, basically Webtoon brought out this new comic, Everfallen. When they released the new comic Everfallen, they put out a push notification ad to everyone that was on the thing telling them like, hey, you know, here's the new comic. Here's the new comic. Full Metal Alchemist hasn't got anything. The Full Metal Alchemist hasn't got anything on it because they're on him, on the MC of the show, because of the comic. Because they're trying to say like, oh, this is a series that's really similar to FMA. It's got similar themes or a similar genre or a similar like set of influences. That's what they were going for. And from the comments, and people saying that fans are claiming they were upset, I read the comments. They're fine. Like I didn't read the comic because I didn't enjoy the look of it, to be honest. But I read the comments. And oh God, this comic's first chapter is so fucking long. I'm trying to scroll down to the comments. Fuck, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I read the comments. They're so tame. The number one comment is like a joke comment about disrespecting Edward Elric and calling the webtoon awesome. The second comment is like vague as fuck. The third comment is like, I felt attacked about webtoon notification. Sirs, tread lightly, but that caught my attention, so I'll bite, which is all it was meant to do. So like, I don't get why people are mad. Like, you know what I mean? Just so we're seeing where I'm coming from. Now I'm going to start reading your comments and kind of follow with what you guys are going on. So they didn't get rate bombed. I don't agree with that. But the comic was pretty interesting, but you feel bad for them because people like FMA so much, it was like setting them up for failure. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that they compared them to an IP that was a bit too big for the comic was. It means that Webtoon internally had faith in the IP to be as interesting as that, but I personally don't think it was. For Rock Lobster, I don't have any context for that statement, so the only thing I can think of, that's the only thing I can think of. So I don't know how, does he have more dead family members or is it something else? It's a very vague statement. That's a very fair point, and I'll give you that. From Ivana, that's a bad pitch line. They set themselves up. A lot of fans be salty. Fans be salty about everything, though, Ivana. Is that how we going to like stop advertising comparatively because fans are salty? I don't know, man. I don't know. From Sakura, I'm more concerned Webtoon still won't consult the creators before releasing ads. I don't like that they do that personally on a fundamental level, but I do understand that like from the contract, and I've read enough contracts at this point, you sign that right over, which means that you can argue for that right to at least have some say in your advertising. You can argue for that. So I don't. Also, Enigma, the problem is the advert was seen by some people to be negative because it basically posed this comic Everfallen against FMA fans and might have caused issues. I don't think it does, but whatever. You know, from Misty, she's like, Webtoon's advertising has been awful for ages. Have you seen the toxic but hot ads they've done for things like Lore Olympus? They are horrendous. I didn't even know those existed. But also, I don't think this is bad advertising. At worst, I think this is a misfire from a like relatively competent advertisers. Like it's a pretty normal misfire. Like they assumed their IP was better than it was. Sure. Like this isn't, for me, the problem is for me is this isn't, people act like this is malicious and it's really not. But anyway, about like from Amelia, I guess I think the creator should have been warned. Good marketing though, it's because the MC was an alchemist. And they're kind of like homunculi creatures. Okay, that's what that is about. Thank you for explaining that to me. I didn't bother reading the comic, if I'm honest with you, because I'm not gonna lie, looked fucking boring. I hope they succeed, but I was not interested. And also, there's a sideways panel, like fucking 3 minutes in, and y'all know how I feel about sideways panels. I don't think I have to explain my emotional distraught that there's a sideways panel really early in this chapter. I was already out before that sideways panel showed up. And that sideways panel would have ended my career as a human being. Yeah, Enigma, more or less, it was saying, hey, you like this thing? This thing is better. Yeah, that's what they were saying. And that's a little bit adversarial. And from Kylie, that's a statement that kind of sets up an "I'm going to prove you wrong" type response. Yeah, you like this, you might like this is a basic marketing strategy, but not implying one is better. I mean, no, implying one is better is also pretty common. It's usually done as like a funny rib because, you know, you don't actually think it's better. Like a really good example of them, I think, was I bring this one up a lot. It was the Nintendo and Sega Genesis ads. I don't know if you guys grew up with Nintendo with the N64 and the Genesis and stuff like that, the SNES. But it was a really big ad that Sega used to run because the Genesis was really good and it was doing really well in most countries. It was actually doing a little bit better than Nintendo in all countries. And it used to do like Genesis does what Nintendo don't. It's a pretty adversarial ad. And then when Smash Brothers came out, they made an ad where they went to Crash headquarters and they beat up. No. When Crash came out, they made an ad where they went to Nintendo headquarters and they made fun of Nintendo at their parking lot. Like adversarial marketing gets attention. That's the purpose of it. It's an attention grabbing thing. It builds a fake adversary and it gets attention. And the thing is, adversarial marketing works on a premise of like there's a veneer, right? It's a veneer. It's a veneer on a box. It's a label on a box. It tells people what's in the box they should expect. And as long as what's in the box meets the expectations, they succeed. It works a lot. It works a fucking lot. The only reason it will fail is because the contents of your box suck. That's honestly it. The contents of your box suck in comparison to what you are comparing yourself to. By a substantial degree, not even by a little bit, by a substantial degree. That's usually the only time when adversarial marketing just does really bad. Like it's very much like playful ribbing because like it's not fuck Full Metal Alchemist, we're better. It's like, come on guys, you know, we know FMA is good, but like I think our guys at least a little bit more interested in Edward Elric. Like that's not a serious statement. That's not a fucking serious statement. FMA redefined the anime industry as we know it. Like that's not a serious statement. FMA redefined storytelling. Like that's not in a lot of little ways, in a lot of really small ways. FMA produced one of the greatest pieces of art to ever come out. If you're gonna say that you're better than that, it's a joke. It has to be a joke. It's not a serious statement. I'm sorry. Like I can't take it too seriously. For Semi Enigma, that it got attention. That's how things work these days. Yes and no. Attention is useful, but like I said before, if the attention goes to something, it doesn't even vaguely live up to the hype. That would have been a better pitch. You like this, but you might like this. That would have been a better pitch for this comic, particularly. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Sakura, and I agree with Kylie on this for this comic. I'm gonna keep fucking it up. I'm gonna keep correcting myself. I think the reason it was even compared was just, hey, this comic has an alchemist, you know? What else has an alchemist? Yeah, I genuinely think that's what they did. Like, it's not the decision of someone trying to be malicious. It's just a fucking mistake. I don't think it was that big of a deal. If this is what okay, I'm going to be also real with you guys a little bit. If this is what it takes to kill Everfallen, Everfallen wasn't going to make it very far. This is not going to kill it. But if this is what it takes to kill it, Everfallen is not going to take it very far. Webtoon's track record actually does lead to it being a joke. Webtoon, like, people fail to understand that Webtoon is just highly incompetent. Like, people fail to understand that Webtoon is highly incompetent. Like, internally and how they operate, people consistently fail to understand that they're highly incompetent. Like, they make a lot of mistakes. They have a lot of very talented people in there, but they make a lot of mistakes because the community that they're trying to market to is incredibly fickle, different, protective, and just like not what they're used to. And who's used to marketing in webcomics? Nobody. Barely the artists that make content are used to marketing in webcomics. So to a big extent, they're incompetent not because they're like maliciously stupid. They're incompetent because the genre, the medium they work with is just complicated and different from what they're used to. Their marketing team is pretty decent. And like adversarial marketing is useful for a lot of things when it comes to new IP being launched. Jump has done a lot of adversarial marketing for new IP by calling up themes like Naruto and Bleach and stuff like that. I think that staff is actually competent. I just think that they make very big missteps, and they don't see the missteps coming. So they just look like a fucking clown circus every chance they get. Like, that's what I think happens internally. Because, like, the fucking wall ads, the subway ads. Remember, guys, remember the literature side hustle? They didn't think. That's it. They didn't think about it. They made the ad because they thought it would be like a cute little like joke. Oh yeah, it's like literature, but different. Like, that's as far as they most likely got. Like 100%. And people forget that most of that ad campaign is fine. There are 2 bad ads in a full ad campaign. Like, they did multiple different ads. And apart from one that just doesn't have their name on it, 2 of the ads are bad out of the other ads that they made. Like, we're focusing a lot on their missteps, as we should, and we should focus on their missteps. But, like, we shouldn't pretend like their missteps are the only steps that they make. Like, this isn't the first time Webtoon's push notification has been comparative. But it's probably the only time it's been this comparative. And people are mad about it because, you know, we're happy focusing that they done something we didn't like. And that's reasonable to not like it. I just feel like we shouldn't pretend like the ad is an unreasonable decision. That's what I'm saying. Like, we shouldn't pretend like the ad is an unreasonable decision, but we should accept the fact that the ad is what it is, a stupid mistake. As it is what it is. It's what it is. Like, Webtoon is a company that I have a lot of hate and love for. And a lot of my love comes from the fact that the employees, by and large, of which there are many of them at this point, the employees all put a lot of time when they come to these things, as much time as they can. When they make mistakes like this, I'm not going to drag them over the coals. The mistakes they make need to be bigger. This is such a small level mistake. It's internal. It's only going to people who read Webtoons already. Later Enigma. Only going to people who read Webtoons already. It's low risk. It's low risk. It's low loss. Like, nothing really bad came of it. Like, I don't know. I don't see. I'm really trying to give them like a lot of. I'm trying my best to like take them to task on what they've done, and it's just like I go down and I'm just like, yeah. I do think they need to take a more serious route with their ads. I think they need to change their ad perception, because this playful character that they like to play in their ads, and if you guys don't believe me when I say there's a playful character, just look at their Twitter account. They literally want to act as if Webtoon is a 13-year-old girl. Webtoon's like social media character is a 13-year-old to 15-year-old girl. Playful, funny, haha, you know, and not like a Zoomer, like a 13-year-old girl in like movies, right? Playful, funny, like jokey, a little cringe. Like, that's their whole character. That's the character that they want to play. They want to be a little cringe. They want to be a little other. And like, often it leads to many big misfirings. Like, it leads to many big misfirings. But like, sometimes those misfirings are broad and big and affect everyone. And I think those are really important. When you're making bad wide-scale advertising for the public, for public consumption, it fucks everyone in your downline. When you're making like internal ads that are a little bit like, meh, I don't know, calm down. This is not something to be mad about, substantially. And if this comic if Everfallen, somebody told me that Everfallen would be getting passed around sub communities to people making fun of it. Yeah, and it's going to lead to the exact same mix of content that every webcomics comment section is full of. Positive comments, negative jokey comments, negative comments, and outright horrible comments. Sounds pretty standard. If I'm missing something, great time to tell me. Because like, I want you to remember something really quickly. I'm still approaching this with like I really want to know if I'm wrong. Because maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Maybe something I'm not considering. Maybe there's something I just haven't thought about because I'm too fucking, like, you know, I'm too fucking Webtoon pilled or whatever. So like, do tell me there's something you're seeing that I'm not seeing. If you think there's something I'm not getting or I'm not understanding. Because like, I'm very happy to shit on this company. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see the point in shitting on them when I don't see anything to shit on them for. That's all. So like, I want to know if I'm missing something. I want to know. Tell me. Like, really important. Then from Misty Nix. I feel like they need to take a more serious route with their ads. What drew me in was some serious and cool trailers for some series I wound up loving. All this joking around and failing just lends them not being taken as seriously as a good place to read good stories. The ads lead you to believe it's just casual stuff you find everywhere else, IMO. You're right, that actually has a lot of problems. Another thing to add, their audience has been growing up all these years. Why are they playing them even younger than before? Because their content appeals, their newer content has been appealing to audiences even younger than before. Webtoon's launch appealed to like going into 18-year-olds. Webtoon's launch content in 2015, 16 appealed to like 14, 15 actually. Appealed to like people going into becoming adults, becoming 18. You know, you had Shen with his existential dread. You had like Strawberry, whatever the hell it was called. You had Where Tangents Meet, stuff that was a little bit more complex and more serious, stuff that was a little bit deeper and more difficult to digest. Now, a lot of webtoons that think that are big are a little simpler. Some of them are complex still, but all of them have become a little bit simpler. And a lot of the ones that they're pushing from Korea are literally made to be brain dead reading. Every villainess comic is the same. Like, you know, like the push thing is like when YouTube's album was forced on people with iTunes and people metaphorically rioted. Yeah. You didn't even have to listen to them. They didn't even come up in your shuffle. They weren't even downloaded on your iPhone. I don't know why anyone cared. I wish they brought back those age demographic lists they used to have on the front page. Did they take them away? When did they take them away? I didn't even notice. Oh yeah, you're right. They're gone. You're right. Fuck. Good point. That's actually a really good point. That's actually an incredibly good point, Sakura. Like, the fact that Webtoon is like giving up a lot of its older demographic content and not like taking it as seriously and not pushing it the way it should is disappointing. I'm not trying to figure out the age demographic of their users. It's really strange that they don't even like use the data you give them to figure out your age demographic and appropriately assign you content. Weird. I missed the old graphs, actually. I didn't even notice they were gone. But I missed the old like sort by like, you know, popular with age what and age what. Because that was so important. I knew what people my age were reading. I knew that they were all apparently reading unordinary or whatever. But it was really important. Like, I don't know why they took it away. And these are things I think are actual problems. Like, I think this is a problem. I think the 13-year-old attitude on social media play is a bad thing. I think the fact that they refuse to like work with their age demographics as closely anymore is a bad thing. I think that like these wider problems are a bad thing. A minor advertising misstep, even if it happens a dozen times, isn't a bad thing. It's a symptom of all of these problems. So like, it's not something worth being mad about because the problem is more worth being mad about. It was removed a few years ago, it seems, or at least a year ago. Because like, I remember it sometime recently, but I don't know how far back my memory goes on this. They replaced it with the popular section being revamped from what it used to be to now having like new and trending originals by genre, canvas by genre popularity. But they've removed like the popular within age group what. They used to have popular within people in the 10s, 20s, and 30s, and they removed that. I don't know. I saw this thing. I thought it was a little. I thought we were being a little bit hyperbolic in our anger, but I do understand why people are angry, and I think it's actually very reasonable anger. Like, unlike the Clip Studio one where there's a little bit of poison in there, I think it's a very reasonable anger. It comes from a place of like understanding what the symptoms are, understanding what the cause of the symptoms are, and like seeing that it's not being fixed, and the symptom is making things worse. Webtoon has a lot of things they should be changing, and I agree with people who are upset to the most part. I don't see it causing any damage to Everfallen, and I will say it again. If Everfallen was going to get taken out by this comparison, it was not going to make it anyway. It was not. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't see what the problem is. So, you know, y'all have made your points pretty reasonably. I appreciate that. It was actually really useful to learn. So, thanks. Anyway, I want to take you guys to my next topic of the day, because we only have one more left. Before I move on, anyone have anything they want to say on this before I go? before I change my moves, before I move something else. Everyone has a lot of strong emotions about this one. I want to just know where they're at. Maybe you think I'm being a little bit unfair. Maybe you think I'm not considering Webtoon's transgressions appropriately. Just let me know. Speaking to that, let's see, where is it? Yes. So while I wait for a potential comment to show up, I'm just gonna say the next topic, I want to talk about AI art. Talk about AI art because I want to know what people's opinions are on AI art. I want to know how you feel about AI art. Because I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts. And they stem from a tweet I made a few days ago. So I made a tweet a few days ago that I didn't really word very well, but I'm going to reword it again. Webtoons, webcomics in general, suffer from the worst thing in the world. They are simultaneously a member of the tech industry and a member of the art industry, and they suffer under the brutal worker exploitation of two different industries at the same time, and they suffer under the brutal arrogance and like just purposeful misunderstanding of need that both of these industries display with like art, with like tech and its NFT bullshit and AI crap, and artists and their arrogant thoughts towards shit. Like webcomics is just in a bad place. We're in betweeners, and it sucks. It really sucks. We're in betweeners, and it really sucks. And not the cool in betweeners. Are there cool in betweeners? No, they're not. AI isn't going to destroy anyone's career. You're right. AI isn't going to destroy anyone's career. I mean, it's going to destroy some people's career. It's going to destroy the career of the low budget artist. That's who's going to be suffering the most. The low budget, low skill artist, or like early skill artist, is going to lose the most. I'm just going to chill and keep drawing. Fair enough, but the low budget, low skill artist is going to suffer a lot because they're gonna people who want like very simple drawings will just go to an AI to get it. AI art right now is still uncanny valley. It can easily evolve. Yeah, it could, but I'm just saying like that's who's going to take out the most. The people who are low budget, making low risk, low demand, low cost things. Like that's who's going to be affected the most. It's not really intimidating as much as it is irritating. It's not really going to destroy anyone's careers. It's just going to lead to a few people trying to rip some artists' work off for NFTs, and a few people who want like some really low effort AI things for their profile pictures, who want some really low effort art for their profile pictures, just going to AIs instead of artists. But those people don't really pay that much money, but they typically hire artists who are really cheap. That's why I said the low budget artist will be affected the most. I don't know what the fuck is with the ad breaks. I'm not even making money off of them. Wait, I know what it is. I need to fix that. I just realized what it was. Oh no. I just realized what it was. I know why the ads are all playing. And it is my fault, and I am sorry. I am very sorry. I forgot something I was experimenting with 2 weeks ago that's just still on. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of overflowing AI art merch on Redbubble and stuff. But like, here's the thing, right? Here's what I don't like about the AI art. The AI art thing. I think the major problem I have with it is the art theft. My major problem with AI is always going to be the same thing. AI in general is the sum total of human knowledge distilled through a computer and stolen to pretend like it's original. It's not that it exists because it's like, it's not that it's been taken and then it's being pushed forward as, so we got the ideas from here and here and here, and then we combine them to make this. It's always pushed forward like it's original. And that for me is a little bit upsetting. Like, that's a little bit upsetting. Also, Kaji, I figured out why the ads are bad, and it's my fault, and I'm sorry. You know, I thought it would be a good time for us to hang out, and I wanted to talk about something in AI art that was brought to me by one of my patrons, Nick the Halfling, which reminds me, thank you, patrons. Without you, some things just couldn't be done. If you'd like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/webcomics hub, because I do a lot of research, and it takes a lot of time, and I want money. Please. Thank you. It's such a powerful plea. Anyway. um when it comes to AI art, something I want us to all look at together. And I wanted us to look at it because I have thoughts, as always. I have thoughts and prayers. Oh, great. I'm in Patreon tag. I have thoughts on this. But I just want to know where everyone's mind lies with this. So when I was looking into the AI art thing, one of the patrons, Nick the Hoffling, sent me this screenshot. Let me just transition it in. This is from, I just want to show you, let you know, this was a post from Scott Stalenhag, Simon Stalenhag, who was upset about the AI art thing that's going on. And this is an exchange that happened based on the AI art thing. Did you see, I'm just going to read it out for the class, for everyone who's not looking at the screen. Don't worry, I'm going to read it for you. So there are two people here, Ertzel and Andres Guadamus. Ertzel starts with, did you see the one that he posted, speaking about something that Andres did, where he just literally rips off Simon Stalenhag's work by putting it directly into one of those AI art programs that generates art. And then Andre says, that's the point. I'm a copyright legal researcher. I'm specifically trying to reproduce it. Geez, do you people even click the link or read a bio? Ertzel goes on to say, considering the art that you took from has been very outspoken about not liking AI art, did you at least ask them for permission to experiment with their artwork? Or are you just not reading anything on their profile either? And Andre goes, that's precisely the point. I'm choosing an iconic, outspoken, recognizable figure, which is likely to sue first for copyright infringement. It's legal research. Simon isn't going to sue anyone. Simon's like so mild-mannered. And I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a good way. And Ertzel goes on to say, so you're just kind of picking a person that found success to antagonize them for your little experiment. And then Andre goes on, I'm not antagonizing, I'm researching, and they both go on. Now, Andre is wrong. The legal research guy is an idiot, just to be clear. I don't want anyone to misunderstand my position. But like, that's kind of where we're at right now with, and Andre is a verified account, which is so dumb. That's where we're at right now with the AI art thing. It's opening new harassments for worker exploitation, which is my main issue with it. It's gonna be people like Andre saying things like, I'm stealing somebody's work using AI because I want to prove something, or stealing somebody's work using this AI because they want something that looks similar enough that they can sell to someone else, or cheating consumers. Like, it's going to be that. It's not going to be affecting individual artists' careers. It's going to be affecting a lot of consumer level stuff. Like, if people like Andre, right, are allowed their own way, like this could easily lead to bad outcomes for the rest of like, for all of the for art in general, where people like Andre who are acting in bad faith or in a negative way lead to lawsuits that make art more restrictive than it already is. And like, that's something that I'm a little bit worried about. I'm worried about things like that. I'm worried about new vectors for harassment and new vectors for potential negative outcomes. AI art is the new NFT art theft, where people profit off another person's work. Everyone wants to make a quick buck with zero effort, from Sakura. Yeah, you're right. The overlap of tech bros and business bros is the circle of hell. Frankly, Amelia, the overlap of tech bros, business bros, and art bros is the deepest circle of hell. You have not seen the circle of hell yet. The precedent he's trying to set is bad. Like, it's better off no one does anything, because here's the thing. What if the outcome, because no one's going to sue. Most artists aren't going to sue you even if they have money. Most artists don't care. Much like most musicians don't care if you rip off their music. Most artists don't care if you rip off their music, their art to some extent, because it's not enough effort. Like, the effort of taking you to court and stressing themselves out just does not hit, right? It does not hit. So they're just not going to do anything about it. The only person who he can do it to, because if he wanted to actually get sued and see if it was worth pursuing, he would take DC art and do it to DC art. He wouldn't do it to some guy. You know what I'm saying, Kylie? You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? Broke NFT bro to AI artist pipeline. Oh God, it's worse than the Pewdie pipeline. Jesus Christ. And they could have done it to Disney if they wanted to prove if it was worth taking to court. They could have done it to Disney. In their point right there, right then. They did it to Simon because they know that Simon's going to do shit. They wanted a stooge. I'm trying to research. You're researching, fucking make a Disney one. Like, I've gone over it. I've gone over this person's work, and I haven't seen their AI art post of like with anyone, with any Disney art or anything. Like, talking like, I don't know. Due to a novice DA artist, they'd probably lose it. That's so mean, Kylie. I respect it. I only want AI art that if it can draw my OCs kissing for me, so I don't have to. Not so tech bros can all pat each other on the back for ripping off art and making money. There's also this AI comic going around that looks terrible, but whatever. I don't need to break down why it's terrible. If you're competent, you'll see it. So, like, it's just nobody wants to go against Disney. Yeah, no one wants to go because the thing is, he knows that if it had any grounds leg to stand on as a legal researcher, he'd go against Disney. Why wouldn't you? Like, why? If that, yeah, the Summer Island one, I think that's what it was about. The one about where she falls asleep in New York in a park or something, and it looks terrible. I thought about it. It was funny. No, like, it's just a vector for harassment, and it bothers me. It bothers me on a fundamental level to my core, because I don't like it when these vectors open up. And I want to, like, when we're loud about shit, I'm glad that everyone is dunking on this AI art shit. I'm so glad everyone's dunking on them. I'm so happy people are dunking on them, because frankly, they deserve to be dunked on. If anything really deserves pure negativity, definitely this, because it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so unnecessary. They know that, yeah, they don't want to bring it up against Disney because they know Disney will win. Disney can win because they know they're wrong. They know they're wrong. Like, I don't know. It seems so clear. It seems so clear that they know that they're wrong. What's the legal implications of using it to generate copyrighted characters? None, because it's new. There's no real legal implications. Like, I've looked, it might fall under some like breach of copyright if it's too close to an existing copyrighted character. But like, not only, like, if the process to making it as well could really factor into them getting off, not getting in trouble for it. But depends on the company that sues them. Disney doesn't need to go to town on them. Disney will send them a cease and desist and they'll stop. Disney doesn't like lawsuits. Like, I should say this really quickly. For all of Disney's many faults, Disney really, really, really likes art. It's how they make their money. And it's also a very key part of how they recruit people. So they're very willing to make sure that the artistic community is not infringed upon in any really negative way that is like wholly negative. But they don't want the artistic community to infringe upon that. That's really it. Disney won't let you draw Disney characters in your fucking child's living room or whatever. But Disney doesn't want it to become a situation where you don't draw. You know? They don't want they don't want a situation where people stop making art. Because it's how they make their money. It's how they get their audience, people who make art. So, like, and Disney doesn't like lawsuits. Lawsuits make precedent, and precedent can be bad long-term for an entire industry. So typically, like most companies, Disney starts to settle things with ceases and desists. They send you a cease and desist because they don't want it to become a legal thing. Because if they take you to court and they win, like, it'll become a bad legal thing. They don't want that. If they take you to court and they lose, it might become it will affect them negatively, and they don't want that. That's it. That's why they give you the cease and desist. If they give you a cease and desist and you genuinely think you can win, you can take them to court and win. But like, that's a hard win, babe. That's a hard win, baby. Like, Jesus Christ. I hope someday one of them makes a mistake. I'm glad that we have all come together as a family, as the Webcomics Hub family, to fucking hate AI artists. I feel bad for people who will get accused on using an AI when they don't know. I heard it started to happen. That's okay. I think people should use the AI art thing though. I think it's a new tool. I'm very on board with AI art new tool. Like I think it's a very useful new tool. When you're thinking of complex geometry or something like that, you can write it down and it will generate something that can get you closer to your ideas, that can get you closer to sketches you want to make. Like it's just because it's a very useful tool for drawing lines. Like it's a great line drawer. The AI art tools like Midjourney, they're great line drawers, which means you can do things like really think of a shape and like really describe that shape and then get a result that might be really close to what you want and then carry yourself forward. And I think it would be a very good concepting tool. Very good concepting tool. It'll give you a lot of concepts to work from that you can build off of. I don't think it's a finished art tool at all. I do not, and I agree very much with Kaji Puran. It's not a finished art tool. And I hope to see more people using it the way I think it should be intended. Like, I don't know. I don't know if everyone here really abhors the AI thing. Would you use it? Like, would you guys use AI art, AI generated images to accentuate your work? Not like put it in there, as in like use it to really get yourself a reference you need or as an inspiration or to get you something that can get you where you want to go. Like, I don't know. Is that something you guys would use? Would you be open to that option? Does that make you comfortable as a creator? You know, that's a question I want to know the answers to, because it's quite a complex question to me. I personally am happy with it, but I'm also very tech inclusive. I'm not very tech averse. I don't hate tech. So I totally use it for brainstorming character designs. Great. Okay, cool. I think it'd be good for concept design work. All right, cool. Even if very good for concept, even if it gives you a lot of the same things. Yeah. It does turnarounds and stuff as well. So if you want like a certain body type that you've never really seen before, it can give you a turnaround of that body type, which can be very useful. If you want to get it, you know, feels like using photos. Yeah, I think so. Maybe for background influence, work it. No, fiddling with references takes too long. Kylie, don't tell me you're one of those anti-reference people. The drama. I don't think you are, by the way. I'm from Kajipuram. I'd probably use it for something to work off of, maybe. Similar to how you can get inspired from other artists or their art style. You bash multiple together and you make your own thing. Yeah, it feels like a very good kit bashing tool. And from Misty, I would use it for concepts once it can make the images in my head thinks of a bit better. Right now, it's so messy and hard to manipulate. I agree. I think AI would be useful for background art. I hope it's not to use as a background, but I do think it could be useful for like abstract background art. Sometimes I think, especially for videos, someone who works in video a lot, I think it's really nice to have a thing that you can like kind of evolve, and having a nice little abstract background art could really work for me. I don't know, at least for me. Also, Kyla, I hope you heard me say I don't think you're an anti-reference person. It was a joke. It was a joke. Oh, personally, I spend too long trying to get a good reference when I can do it myself. I'm just waffling. That's fair. I see your point. I see your point on this. Whenever I'm working on things that needs references, I actually just take photos of myself. It's faster. I have a good DSLR. I just get a pose. I take photos of myself. It's so much quicker for me. Usually it works. It happens when I'm trying to like animate in After Effects, doing like pin tool animating and stuff like that. So I like just do the action with my DSLR recording and I look at it. That works great for me. When I need camera movements, I just turn my camera on and I like move it around my room the way I imagine it moves in the software to kind of get the feel, and then I come into the software and I copy that. So like AI only helps me for a few things. Anyway, it was fun dunking on AI artists. Yeah, that's kind of all my topics for today. Yeah, you should always use references. It's question time, so any questions you want to ask me is a great time to get it to me. But that's kind of all my topics for today. I'm working on a story about a few stories right now. They're taking their sweet time, their sweet time. But expect the 3,000 webcomic story next week, along with all the stooges that helped me do it. 3,000 webcomic story should be next week. As long as I stream next week, it'll be next week. It'll be the next time I stream if I can't stream next week. But yeah, it's a great time to ask me questions because I'm about to end the stream. Any questions, anything you want me to think about, anything you want to ask me, anything you want to tell me, And while you're getting through that, I just want to remind you guys that this show was brought to you by my patrons on Patreon, namely Nick the Halfling, Pastelfly, Ashlyn, and Cheesy. If you'd like to become a patron, please go to patreon.com/webcomicshub. And from as little as $1 a month, I'm really struggling to talk today. As little as $1 a month, you too can support me and also get access to everything that I'm working on as I'm working on it before it comes out for all these other people. Like, for example, you would probably know and be very aware of the story that I'm working on, and I'm investigating because it's only been told to patrons and no one else, to keep it kind of hush hush. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Also, follow me on Twitter at webcomics_hub, and join the Discord, discord.webcomicshub.co.uk, or just go to the website, webcomicshub.co.uk, and you can find all the links there to take you wherever you need to go. All right, cool. That's great. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. If no one's got any questions, I'm going to go make myself late night waffles. Late night waffles is a delicious thing, and everyone should be jealous of me and my waffles. I hope you all feel bad about it. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, we should talk about that in the Discord, Misty. Rewriting a story you're working on. We should talk about that. Actually, it would be a really good Discord conversation. I'll join the Discord channel in maybe 10 minutes when I get my waffles. I'm really getting waffles. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great time. Okay.